Did you watch Summer Raw?
Yes.
How much?
I watched a good portion, and I actually have it on one of the monitors here in the background, so I'm checking it out as we go.
Oh, so in other words, as I talk about it, you're going to watch enough to... Yeah, he was wearing blue.
As you start right now, I picked up from where I stopped on my TV the other night. I'm at 1 hour and 50 minutes into the show. The Judgment Day are just entering the ring.
Well, you're at one of the only decent parts, but nevertheless, let's start back at the beginning. Have I mentioned that the Raw opening theme music is rotten?
I don't know.
Just rotten.
I actually don't know if you've said that on the air.
I said it about one of the opening themes a couple of weeks ago, but I can't remember which, for what program. So the opening match on Raw, they're trying for star power, their main event, a big match. I can understand that. They open with Seth Franklin Rollins against Bobby Lashley. And again, except for singing the heels music, no, that's Jungle Boy. What is Seth Rollins?
I thought that was Morris Day. I wasn't sure what you were doing there.
Well, I'm not. Was it K Sarah Sarah? What did they sing for Seth? For Seth Franklin Rollins, whatever the fuck.
Wrestling fans love that. You can give any wrestler, no matter what their talent is, a song that has some kind of just loud chant. Anything with that, they'll love it. They'll stand up, they'll do it, and then they'll sit back down on their hands.
And that's what I was going to say, except for singing the heels music, the people were sitting on their hands. And this is it's the WWE audience and the WWE product now. And I've been talking about it. In most cases in AEW, when they have main event guys that they present as main event guys in a match in front of their fans, their fans are into the match. But in the WWE, the main event guys that obviously the WWE has more viewers, they got more fans, there are more people in the buildings, whatever the fuck. So they should equally be into the main event guys, but they don't care about the matches as much. It's all about the monotonous long entrances, the goddamn 20-minute long fucking, dramatic pieces or comedy pieces that they do in the middle, and then they break every once in a while for a match. And they've done this to themselves. Because if the people don't think the matches are the most important thing, and I'm not saying more important than the talent in the matches, if they don't think that the matches between the main event guys, the top stars, are the culmination of everything involving those people and their programs, then they've shot themselves in the foot, because none of these guys are good actors anymore, except for a couple that we'll talk about. And they've just diminished it's just a parade of the same kind of stuff. Nothing stands out. They didn't have a bad match again, but they went after they rang the bell, they did maybe 3 minutes and went to the break. And when they come back, there's Seth's getting heat on Lashley. There's nothing wrong, nothing great. I don't see Lashley as a babyface that needs to sell like that. Like a baby face. It needs to sell being in a long arm lock. At one point, the people were chanting, "Let's go, Bobby." But it wasn't like because Bobby was going and they were trying to root him on. It was like, let's go, Bobby, to see somebody go somewhere and do something. Seth Rollins hit him with a couple of dives in a row, and on the second one almost landed on his fucking head because he bounced off. Lashley's like hitting a wall. I don't know if he bounced off him. The trajectory was wrong, whatever. So then Lashley posts Seth out on the floor, and we go to another break less than 5 minutes after we'd come back from the previous break. It's impossible to really get into this thing and follow it, even if you're trying, because they keep breaking it up. And they won't even say, "We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere." They just go to the break and maybe I'll go make a sandwich. Anyway, they got some 2 counts and some false finishes at the end, and blah, blah, blah. And then finally, Bobby got the hurt lock, and Seth Rollins mule kicks him in the nuts. And then suddenly Riddle's music plays, and he just walks down to the ring, and Seth just turns around and stares at him, and then turns back around, and guess what? Bobby Lashley speared him out of his boots, 1, 2, 3. That was it. That was the finish. If you're in a fight, Brian, and somebody's music plays and they come down, they don't even jump up on the apron of the ring, they just walk down the aisle, are you going to stop the guy that you're fighting when he's 50 pounds heavier than you and just stare at the other guy who's not doing any fucking thing?
Oh, man, I wish you had watched Rampage now. Now I can't wait for you to watch that opening match on Rampage.
Well, and let's make the statement also that, my God, none of us could take all that wrestling in the same program, but we're recording on, we tried to start on Saturday morning. Things have happened, but we're recording on Saturday, so we're catching up with what we've seen in the past week, which is Raw on Monday and AEW on Wednesday. And then for the drive-thru, we're going to cover in detail the Friday programs because we'll have had time to watch them. But again, music plays, guy walks down, stupid guy in the ring, stares at him, turns around, gets hit with a finish. Keep that thought in mind. We'll revisit that later on. What did you think about this contest?
I mean, it was okay for what it was. I can't get into Bobby Lashley at all right now as a babyface like this. I liked him with MVP. That was perfect.
Yeah. Where'd MVP go?
He's with Omos. Where's Omos?
Where's Omos?
Well, I don't know where MVP is the point. And I can't get into Lashley. I don't find him to be a compelling babyface on his own. He actually worked better as a heel with a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
And like as a machine, just a monster. But I can't get into him. I don't buy him as a top babyface on his own. It just doesn't work for me.
Well, and also it's that he's not Jack Briscoe. He doesn't need to sell arm drags and you know, wrestle competitively on the mat. Even though he can, he's a great shooter. Unless you're talking about he's competitive with a fucking giant. But he as a dominant, ass-kicking fucking heel guy with the group around him, it was great. Anyway, speaking of a group, they're going to give Bayley and Damage Control some time, it looks like, on TV, and I'm not arguing with any more chances to see Bayley at all. She's great. She's a great promo. We've established in the past she can work. I'm not really interested in any of the fucking females that she's currently surrounded with, either as partners or opponents, but I love Bayley. And they drove to the ring on some kind of SUV or ATV or whatever, and they had the streamers and blah, blah, blah. And EO and Dakota are the new tag team champions. And they do the promo, and it was great except when she lets EO and Dakota Kai talk. But then here comes Bianca and Alexa and Oscar out, and I already have lost a lot of interest. If we could go with Bianca and Bayley, which I assume we'll get to eventually, then I'll be there for that. But the 6 girls and the blah, blah, blah. Again, Bayley that carried this promo, she's so far above all the others verbally, it's not funny. Alexa Bliss did her promo and sounded like one time when OVW had a pizza place as a sponsor and we shot commercials there. I asked one of the waitresses to say one line, and it took an hour. She sounded like a pizza place waitress I coached in that TV commercial. And somehow we're getting Bayley wrestling on that program against Alexa that night. So we were 45 minutes into the 3-hour Raw to see the first match and the girls' promo that I just discussed. So this thing moves like a glacier. What do you think of Damage Control, Brian?
I agree with you about Bayley. I think she'd be a wonderful manager against the T-Birds. next time they play. But
a little Georgia Haas in her, doesn't she?
Yeah, I mean, she could talk, and she's really good. And, she was great as a babyface. She was great as a babyface that the fans made and got behind. And she's been really great as a heel. And we've seen her as different variations of a heel, more silly, and now what she's doing here. I like Dakota. I think Io Sky is good. I always did, even when you didn't. But they need people to work with. I'm not an Alexa Bliss fan, so that really doesn't do it for me.
Well, let's see if the next one will. Last week, Kevin Owens and Austin Theory got in a fight, and now this week they're going to have a match. And the one undisputed thing that poor billionaire Vince was doing when he lost his mind was trying to push Austin Theory and make him the one of the next top guys, right? He was the handpicked protege of the chairman. He was in all the promos. Even if some of the creative was caca, they were trying. Apparently, Austin Theory has pissed somebody off. I don't know what the issue is, but especially Triple H being more inclined to push guys that can work and that look like stars and more serious and less of the goofy stuff Vince was into. But Theory can't beat a fucking rug anymore. He can't beat his own meat. So through this whole match, they went back and forth so much at the start. There was neither a defined set of, Theory shining Owens or a defined set of Theory getting some heat on Owens. It was just back and forth, back and forth. And then finally, Theory hit a big neck breaker on Steen on the floor to stop him, and they went straight to the commercial break. And I'm like, So finally, boom, they come back. They're still going back and forth. Very brief bit of heat. And Owens made a comeback. And Theory, again, is tremendous. He's always in the right place. And the people got into this match, I would say, more than anything else on the program. But they, for a while, they fought on top of the top turnbuckle. And then Owens missed a moonsault. And Theory hit a finish on him, boom, and got a 2 count that I thought that should have been it. It would have been perfect right there. But Theory got 2 or 3 more 2 counts and then just decided, well, I'll go get the Money in the Bank briefcase, even though the referee is standing right there and has not been bumped or anything. But as he turns around, guess who's at ringside holding the briefcase? Johnny Sameface. And guess what happens? Theory stares at Sameface and then turns back around to the guy that he's fighting. And the guy that he's fighting hits him with a super kick and then cannonballs him and power bombs him 1, 2, 3. We just saw this fucking finish an hour ago. And now, not only is Austin Theory the cream of the crop of their young early 20s prospects doing a job for Owens, but he's in an angle with Sameface. Have they given up on this guy? So then, to add insult to injury, Theory sells forever. Owens leaves. Johnny Sameface comes in with the briefcase and holds it over Theory and then drops it onto his balls, which Theory then sells. And Sameface walks off and leaves him. Why didn't they piss in his mouth while he was down there?
USA Network won't allow that. Do you think if Triple H believed in a talent, and I'm not saying this is a situation, I'm just asking your thoughts. Do you think in any way that he would think, let me punish this guy for a year the way I was punished to see if he has the mettle to get through this? Because
but
why are they doing this?
What did he do to get punished for?
I don't know.
He didn't go out in Madison Square Garden and expose the business and then later on marry the fucking boss's daughter.
The other question is, do you think they see this as they're not burying Austin Theory, that they're actually using him well just because they're using him and he still has the briefcase?
Well, see, and that is a good point, and the comedy writers and civilians and people with no wrestling background that work there would think that, because somebody else that had a similar ignorance to wrestling would have told them that. But Triple H knows that ain't... Okay, when's the last time Triple H laid there and let somebody drop a fucking briefcase on his nuts? He knows something's going on. Either just because it was backlash because he was Vince's guy, or he pissed somebody off, or whatever, because nobody that has any knowledge of professional wrestling can overlook that this guy's work is tremendous for his age and his personality and his promos, for his level of experience and being that young, and his look and the athleticism, the whole 9 yards. So something else is going on. And you asked a question. Triple H was punished for a year and knows that it sucked. And I would think he wouldn't want to do that to somebody else, especially somebody that, as far as we know, has not done anything to deserve it.
You know, you brought up before that Theory was Vince's guy. Please do me a favor. For the Drive-Thru with SmackDown, watch Liv Morgan versus Lacey Evans.
Oh, come on.
No. I'm serious. Watch Liv Morgan versus Lacey Evans. Because Lacey Evans, from everything we heard, was a Vince project. Watch that match and tell me what you think.
Okie dokie. Well, and with Lacey Evans, remember we said, boy, what a babyface story, but God, it was awkward having her stand up there and tell it. And then they turned her heel. We said, boy, she's a great heel, but that's the worst way to become a heel I've ever seen in my life. What is she now? Well, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
You just make sure you watch all the way to the end.
Oh, God damn you. So we were an hour and 5 minutes into Raw at this point. I was ready to give up. But they showed a package of Logan Paul and Roman Reigns from the press conference and the challenge for the press conference, blah, blah, blah. We know that match is going to take place. And then here come the Brawling Brutes, but they didn't even have good old Sheamus. Just Ridge and Butch. And they're doing a promo in the ring, but here comes the Street Profits. It's the biggest wrestling company on the planet, and they have 4 tag teams on this program. So they had a tag match by interrupting an interview. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's the same thing every week. They have formatted themselves into just this goddamn pattern of guys come out and talk, somebody else comes out and interrupts, they have a match. And repeat. And the same, and for a finish, distract somebody. And then beat them. And they need to change up not only the talent and bring back talent that they've let get away and put people in better positions, but they need to make the matches more important by training the people that the matches are important. And they need to change up this fucking dreary-ass format so people don't know when they see somebody come into the ring, well, we got 10 fucking minutes before they ever start this shit. Because sometimes then they may not come back. It's not about the talent. It's about how it's presented at this point. And the Brawling Brutes won the tag match, and that was an hour and 40 minutes into the show. So Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, and I mean, there were a few backstage announcements and a couple of on-cameras, but Rollins and Lashley, the girls' interview, Theory and Owens, and the tag team match, hour and 40 fucking minutes.
You see, Pete Dunne is starting to look more like he used to?
Well, yes, except he's still wearing that fucking ridiculous fucking cap. But he's back to basically being Pete Dunne with a hat on. So at least they didn't put a hat on a hat. Rey Mysterio in the back with the girl interviewer pitching to him with this phrase, after the gruesome beatdown last week. Ray does a promo about Dominic turning on him.
Explain to people why you have a problem with that.
Does anybody really... When's the last time you saw a newscaster on location at the scene of a fucking crime? Or a goddamn courtside interviewer for the NBA? after last week's gruesome beatdown. It's just so contrived and stagey, and all the questions are written out for the announcers. They don't tell the announcer, okay, ask Brian about his fucking trip to the vet with Swami. They will have a paragraph that the announcer will recite. Yes, Brian, last you went down Hamilton Avenue to take Swami to the vet, whereupon you encountered. And it's just so bullshit. If you've got a goddamn announcer that can't ask a question about a subject they are prepared for off the top of their head, fire the fucking announcer. They're scripting the announcer's questions. So anyway, Rey promos Dominic about turning on him, and it's so phony. Rey is trying, but the whole thing about the swerving the kid's head around, and then Riddle comes in with some horrible verbiage and apparently offered to be his partner without actually just, hey, you ready? Come on. Okay, I guess they're partners now. Because Edge is hurt after the gruesome beatdown. There's no life to this. There's no spontaneity. There's no element of this stuff is happening in front of us in real time like there used to be on every wrestling program in the world. It is completely and utterly scripted and contrived and timed down to and stage managed down to the last fucking minute detail. And speaking of which, then Otis and Gable and Sameface and Owens came out and did another 3 minutes easily of just back and forth childish arguing and comedy about them going to have a match next week, and they wonder why people hate this show and won't watch it. If anybody looked remotely mad, upset, fucking determined, they're all just joking around with each other backstage. And then here came the Judgment Day. Now we've picked up where you got to. Again, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest fit this thing to a T. And Dominic, the way they've got him dolled up now and healed out a little bit, he looks like he is the pawn in the game. He fits that part. But when Finn Balor starts talking, or the fact that he's the smallest one there when he's the veteran and is filling the leader position, apparently, I gotta wish Edge was still in there.
You know what? When you watch it on mute, it's clear that Damian Priest is the leader. But when you just hear it and it's just my turn and now your turn, turn to talk, and it's your turn to talk, it doesn't come across that way. But when you watch it on mute, his presence, his look, the way he was moving around just holding the mic, he seemed like the leader.
It seemed like, and that's the thing, is eventually he would have been, but what they've done, and I'm not going to beat it to death, I'll say it and move on. Edge was the main event guy. Edge had the tenure. Edge had the experience. Edge was Hall of Fame. Edge was blah, blah, blah. To bring Ripley and Priest up to his level, and then Priest would have been the one to take over the leadership role if they'd been together for 6 months or a year, and then they fucking turned on Edge. And then you'd have had two guys, or you'd had Priest, you had two talents, Priest and Ripley, that had been made. But instead, they got the fucking whole reason for their group pulled away from them, and in his spot, somebody that's half fucking Ripley's size and has been used as a excellent technical in-ring wrestler and not a good promo, and has been used as a flunky and a fucking guy that everybody beat for fucking forever. And so now, yes, Priest, by his presence, is technically actually still is the leader, but he's not ready to be a leader in people's eyes because they didn't go through the process. But Priest sounds great. He even spoke Spanish. And they're putting Dominic in, in that way that heels would do. And Priest and Ripley are great together. The difference in this being a cool place for Priest and Ripley to stay warm, and a top attraction as a group was taking edge out of it. And so now it's okay for Damian and Ripley to be in there, but this is not a main event organization anymore. People booed Dominic out of the arena. And Dominic can't really talk, but the others fired him up and fired the people up, and they were hot for it. And then, of course, here comes Riddle music, and then there comes Rey, and they have a match. And I love the promo, except Finn doesn't fit. And I love Rhea Ripley. She's not wrestling. I'm not sitting through Riddle. So I skipped to the finish. What'd you think of the match? Or you haven't seen it yet, have you?
I watched it in the background. It looked like a lot of action.
It was.
On mute, Riddle looked like an athlete having an athletic contest.
I can't.
You hate him. I know.
I just can't.
You hate him.
I just can't. And the thing is, because I know that he's some kind of goofy smartass in real life, doesn't help. Where he's always running his mouth about Brock or Roman or somebody because he think I can beat you up for real. Got news for you, motherfucker. You want to fuck with a fucking Samoan, I don't care whether you can heel hook them or not, they're going to eat your fucking eyeball before you have the chance. But anyway, if he'd put some fucking shoes on, cut his hair, stop the goddamn rabbits from rushing out of his ass on his entrance, whatever the case, maybe he would. Nevertheless, they got down to the finish. Rey hits the 619 on Finn, but Seth Rollins comes to ringside and gloms Riddle. And Rey chases Seth Rollins off with a chair. And then Dominic dares Rey to hit him, but Rey says, no, fuck, I'm not going to do that. So Rey gets back in the ring where Priest choke slams him, and then Finn Balor hits a foot stomp, and boom, 1, 2, 3. So again, a guy comes down to the ring. One of the people in the match is distracted, chases him off, gets back in the ring, and eats the other guy's finish. 3 times. And I'm not saying that's even a bad finish, but 3 times in the same show is not. So, and then we come back from a commercial break, and Seth and Riddle are having a pull apart in the back of the arena where they stop fighting long enough with all these people pulling them apart so they can yell at each other and demand a rematch at Extreme Rules in the fight pit. Except the announcers had to explain it because all we could hear over all the yelling, was your match. Okay, yeah, your rules. Okay, well, we'll do that. So the announcers come back, well, it's going to be in the fight pit, which we liked as a gimmick when we first saw it, which was Riddle and Timothy Thatcher, right?
Didn't he lose that match? Or am I wrong?
He may have, but then who really lost? Because Timothy Thatcher then disappeared, has never been seen again.
Yeah, whatever. He was good. Whatever happened to that guy?
He was too good. They had to get rid of him. I don't know. Is he fucking paralyzed? Is he goddamn Federal Witness Protection Program? I don't know where a lot of these guys go.
He's a Triple H guy. You got to think he's going to be getting a phone call because seemingly Triple H or someone who works for him is getting in touch with every single human being that Triple H has ever had work for him. Gabe Sapolsky's back. Did you see that?
Oh, yes. I said, welcome back, Gabe. Again, all the creative talent that was put out of work by either the pandemic or, well, the pandemic's what closed Ring of Honor up. There's Delirious. Delirious just showed up in Impact. Talk about slumming. Jesus Christ. He's wrestling in Impact, not even booking. Tony Khan is so adamant that he thinks that he knows what the fuck he's doing, that Delirious Hunter Johnston, a guy with over 10 years experience booking Ring of Honor, young talent, modern style, he was free for 6 months. They didn't hire him. Gabe Sapolsky, guy who before that in Ring of Honor was the guy, he's the guy that works with all the young talent, discovers all the Tony Khan, don't hire him. But he'll take people that work in his company that have never been in any of those positions before and give them promotions so he doesn't have to talk to as much of the talent. But we're still back on Raw. And boy, at this point in time, it was easily 2 hours into this program. Easily. And I was already, to be quite honest with you, ready to turn in for the night, Brian. And I was just thinking, how in the world am I going to get a good night's sleep with nightmarish depictions of all of these rotten matches and redundant finishes running through my head like sugar plums the night before Christmas? And then I realized I don't have to worry about going to sleep and getting a good night's sleep no matter what I watch, because when I lay my brilliant head down on the pillow, it's going to be on top of a Helix sleep mattress. And that it doesn't matter what's gone on in your life. It doesn't matter how miserable you are. It doesn't matter how stressed you are. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, just go next door to the next door neighbor that makes meth under their basement, in their basement or under their kitchen sink, and get about 1.5 ounces of methamphetamine.
No.
And snort all that up.
Stop. No, do not snort any illicit drugs.
Helix
no.
sleep mattress, and you'll still go to sleep.
Listen, everyone, don't do that. It could be hazardous to your health, but what won't be hazardous to your health, what may actually propel your health, would be a good night's sleep. Helio Gracie said that he slept, I think, 12 hours a night. Maybe it was 10. I don't even know. But you could do that, too, on a Helix sleep mattress.
Is that why they have their own Helix Sleep Helio Gracie special, the Helix Helio?
I do not believe they have that special, certainly not in the copy I have in front of me, so I know they do not have that special. No.
Well, they ought to, shouldn't they? But no, here's the thing. Whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how you abuse your body. It doesn't matter what kind of horrible chemicals you ingest. You're always going to go to sleep on a Helix sleep mattress. It just, some of this stuff, if you take too much of it, you might never get up again. But that won't be Helix's fault, because they've come through with their part of the bargain. They've given you the best, most state-of-the-art, comfortable mattress ever. If you want to do black tar heroin intravenously on it and you end up dying and melting into the mattress, it's not their fault.
What?
They fulfilled their part of the bargain.
I don't think melting into the mattress is part of the dying process when you overdose on heroin.
If they don't find the body for a few months.
You melt into the mattress?
You just kind of decompose right into the mattress.
All right, well,
it's the same thing, and here's another thing.
It's not the same thing.
Here's another thing that's very similar. A lot of you people out there, the cult of Cornette, they're getting up in age. They're up almost as old as me in their 40s or 50s. Well, you can get bed sores from a lot of these garden variety mattresses, but these HelixSleep.com mattresses, boy, howdy, I'll tell you what, I have been on them for years and have not gotten one bed sore. Take that for what you will. And do with that information as you see fit.
And why don't we talk about that aspect of it? The fact that in your house, in Castle Cornette, in my house, in Last Manor, we both have multiple Helix sleep mattresses, and we love them. We have firm ones. We have ones that, I don't know what, not loose, but not as firm. We have lots
loose ones.
We have loose mattresses. I don't know where to go from here, but ladies and gentlemen, they have great mattresses.
We have a lot of them in our home. And not one time have either one of us ever got a bed sore. Because, if you lay on some of the cheap mattresses long enough, then your skin kind of grows into the fabric. And then when you peel it off, well, your skin comes with it. And goddamn, then you've got, I'll tell you what, we had pieces of Uncle Tommy on one of our old mattresses for months after he last slept here.
But that was not a Helix sleep mattress.
No, it wasn't. That's why we changed. We said, we've got to get a mattress that doesn't have so many pieces of Uncle Tommy on it. And that's where we found the fine folks at Helix Sleep. Well, right, folks, you just take a quiz. You just answer a few simple questions. It's not really an interrogation. They do come to your house and shine a light in your eyes, but that's just to check your pupils and the dilation factor. But you take a quiz, and they pick the perfect mattress for you. Do you like sleep on your side or your back or your stomach or whatever? Soft, medium, firm, loose mattress, whatever you like. And then, once they recommend one, you purchase it. It's delivered to your door. It's in a box that one person can actually move around. This space age technology, you put it right where you want it, you take it out of the package, and it just comes to life. And remember, it doesn't spring to life, it slowly inflates to life. So you're not going to get a broken nose or hitting the balls or anything when this thing it's not like you pull a ripcord and suddenly just bam. It doesn't do that. You got time to get out of the way. So go to helixsleep.com right now. helixsleep.com/JCE. That's HELIX. helixsleep.com/JCE. They're offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. But you got to go right now and take that quiz and order that mattress. And I guarantee you, when that mattress shows up, there will not be one single piece of Uncle Tommy on it. Better sleep starts right now with helixsleep.com.
That's right. Better sleep with Helix Sleep. I do approve of that. And I don't approve of going back to Raw, but let's let you finish what you started.
Well, I will finish what we started. And also, do you have any pieces of your family members from the last time they slept there?
No. Why? Sometimes
on your mattress.
Sometimes I think we moved on and you go back to the thing I
didn't give you a chance to respond if you had anybody's skin or epidermis still stuck to anything from last time that they were.
We certainly don't, and certainly not from Uncle Tommy.
All righty. Well, the next up on Raw was Miz TV. At least Tommaso Ciampa has his first name back. We can thank heaven for small miracles, but I wrote, fuck me, more talk at this point, because now we're more than 2 hours in the program. And Miz is still mad at Dexter Lumis, and obviously Lumis is a psychopath, and he's been hounding Miz and hiding and plotting and planning or whatever. Well, he calls Lumis out to meet him face to face. If Lumis was here right now, why, I'd do this and that and the other thing. And then they get a close-up, the camera does, of the mat behind Miz in the ring. A giant butcher knife comes up through the canvas and is cutting a hole in the canvas. And everybody sees it. Now, Miz has his back turned to it, but Tommaso's there in the ring, and Tommaso had just walked out a camera shot. I don't know where he was that he wasn't seeing this. But finally, Lumis comes through the canvas, and I remember how cool this was 30 years ago when we started doing it.
Yeah.
They did it once I did it in Smoky Mountain Wrestling with Unabomb in 95. And where was it that they had done it first? It was
Undertaker and Diesel did it in WWF around that period of time too.
Well, yeah, but they did it in Memphis where Tommy Rich came from under the ring, but then Undertaker came through the ring. And then we decided to do that because we figured out a way. We only had to buy one extra fucking canvas. We didn't have to fuck the ring up. This thing, you need a special effects budget on some of this stuff. But anyway, so he comes through the goddamn canvas and starts pulling Miz into the hole. And then Tommaso's like, oh shit. And he rescues the Miz, and then Lumis tries to pull Tommaso in. And the heels roll out of the ring to escape, and Lumis is sticking halfway up through the ring from underneath, making a face at him, and then just ducks back underneath the ring.
That's right.
Where's he going to go now? I understand being under the ring to surprise somebody, but you're going to go back under there now that the surprise is over? And they went to a break. So again, okay, the cool visual, the fucking psychopath coming through the ring, I got that part, but if that's how you get out of it, he tries to pull one in, and his cohort saves that guy, so he tries to pull the cohort in, and the first guy saves him, and then the psychopath just looks at him standing there and then ducks back under the ring, and the heels just leave without trying to go under there with a fucking chair or a gun, hand grenade, whatever. They just all leave. And I don't know how Dexter left because he went back under the ring. Is there a tunnel? Is it like where they get the president out of the White House so they can take him down to White Sulphur Springs? What'd you think of this?
Again, I watched it in the background, but...
the background.
But I got to see the whole show, just I didn't get to hear the reaction or whatever Miz was saying on the mic. I mean, this is kind of how they were using Loomis in NXT. You know, he's this weird, creepy serial killer that just pops up and for some reason is never apprehended or sent away.
But does it make him scary or intimidating if when he fails to pull these people down to the Dungeon of Doom, down under the ring or whatever, that he doesn't come out and attempt to go after them? If he wants them that bad that he goddamn went through all this plotting and planning, and they're still standing 15 feet away with shocked looks on their faces, why doesn't he go after them?
Because he's a babyface. Babyfaces do not alter the plan if it doesn't go as expected. Braun Strowman did not charge after Otis the other day. He just yelled at him. And Dexter Loomis did not succeed in grabbing the ankles of either Miz or Ciampa, so he just slowly lowered himself back down into his pit. It really is ridiculous when you visualize his face.
Yes.
And this is the reaction it gets. That's the point, I guess.
Yes. All right, time for the main event. Guess what it was? Alexa Bliss versus Bayley for 20 minutes. Finally, they were going into the finish. The other girls were around ringside. Alexa got lost in some fashion, and Bayley had to convey to her something with a little awkward herky-jerkiness until finally she DDT'd Bayley and went to the top rope, and one of the heels pushed her off, and then Bayley hit her finish 1, 2, 3. And then the heels got even more heat and laid out Bianca. So hopefully that's where we're going to Bayley and Bianca, which will be worth watching at some point. And that was Raw, 3 hours of it. And again, how are they surprised that this is a commitment from people to spend 3 hours of their life slogging through this thing when it moves so fucking slowly?
That's the thing, and we just talked about the 3 hour issue recently in Triple H's previous comments about 2 hours versus 3 hours. If you're going to do 3 hours, and they are because of the money they're getting, there has to be another way to do it so it doesn't feel like this every week.
And again, you know, they've got umpteen wrestlers under contract in that company. And now Raw guys are on SmackDown and SmackDown guys are on Raw, and the brand split is nebulous or whatever. They can't just get more. I mean, even if you just have a guy that can have a 5-minute fucking match, just do that. And instead of having a 15-minute interview and a 20-minute match, have a 5-minute interview and a 15-minute match, and use those other goddamn 10 or 15 minutes for 2 or 3 new talents that maybe can just have a 5-minute match. I mean, it's not like they're going to set the world on fire with ratings for that, but it's not like they're setting the world on fire for ratings right now. And again, in all seriousness, some change to the formatting, something to make things move a little like they did. And again, 2 hours and 3 hours is not a vast difference. Raw in the late 90s moved at a quicker pace. Part of it was the plethora of talent, but part of it was the way that even Vince was formatting things back then and told us to format things and explained to us why. And all of that's been thrown out the window. Ay, ay, ay. Anyway, we also, it was Friday Night SmackDown last night, and I had time to watch the first segment, and I want to make mention of this because this was a talking segment that flew by, that was so good that you wanted to hear, that you were involved in, and you wanted to see what happened at the end. And when you did see it, you're like, they got me. And I know you can't have that in every segment because you don't have enough Paul Heymans and Roman Reigns' and Sami Zayn's. But in this case, we'll talk more about the rest of SmackDown on the Drive-Thru in a few days. But the first segment, out comes Roman Reigns with the Bloodline, Solo, and both the Usos, and Heyman, and Sami. And everybody involved in this was perfect in what they did. All Roman Reigns has to do is stand there, and he can talk, but when he's a man of few words because he's got Heyman do the other stuff, it just makes him look like a bigger star. Heyman is tremendous. The inflection, the verbal capacity, the expressions, my God. And Sami Zayn was perfect in this. They did a long tease about how now that they had Solo, it looked like they were going to kick Sami out of the group. Even to the point of Reigns saying, take that Bloodline shirt off. I don't want to see you wearing that again. And Sami's facial expressions and the humana in his voice and his attitude. And then finally the reveal is that Roman Reigns has him a new t-shirt, Honorary Oos. And, then the relief on Sami's face. And now Jay's the one that doesn't like him, right?
I don't know which one.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Jey Uso's, God damn it, because he knew that Sami was about to get kicked out. They have built this thing perfect with this dynamic in the group. And everybody's doing a great job with it. And it was entertaining to watch. And even though, yes, you can examine, if Sami Zayn was a grown-up adult, he probably wouldn't be doing many of the things he's doing or thinking many of the things he's thinking. But the way they've done it and talk about it and carry it off, you don't sit there and it doesn't slap you in the face. You can take the ride with him. You can work with him on it. And that's what wrestling used to be. And, at least this is somewhat entertaining. So I like that part of SmackDown. I don't know what the fuck else is going to go on. We'll see that when we get to it.
I thought it was great. Sami Zayn is perfect in this role, and the facial expressions from him and Roman Reigns, the way everything was built up here, as cheesy as it could be, it worked. And I thought it was great. It was the highlight of the show, the 15 minutes of them standing there and talking. I don't know what else to say about it. Really.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Cheesy doesn't always equate with phony or silly if it's talented people doing the deal that can make you believe, because Sami Zayn can make you believe that he's that weaselly fucking chicken shit, the whole 9 yards. But now the people are starting to get behind it because they want to see him welcomed into the fucking group or whatever. And they were chanting for him, Sami, Sami. They thought he was going to get fucked up, and he didn't. So they were pleased about it. But that's the thing, is we just need about 5 more Heymans, 6 more Roman Reigns, and I never thought I'd say this, a couple more Sami Zayns.
Well, make sure when you watch SmackDown, you watch the next match, which was Liv Morgan versus Lacey Evans.
Oh, boy. You know what? I may need to scramble the signal on that one. And I mentioned this earlier, Brian. You said you didn't want to Google certain things like I love you, Colonel Sanders, or how to have sex with a chicken, or whatever it may be.
No, that was not it. It was, is it legal to have sex with a sheep in Japan?
You did, yeah, that's one of the things. And when you Googled it last time, you didn't think about it. But now that we've been having these commercials.
No, I've never Googled that.
I thought you were going to say you've never thought about it afterwards.
I've never thought about it. I've never Googled it.
Folks, if you need to Google where it's legal to have sex with a sheep or anything else, then sometimes, or anything else, sometimes you might not want everybody knowing what you're doing on the internet, right? And we've said that going online without something to protect your security on your internet system is like leaving your kids with the nearest stranger while you're using the bathroom. Most of the time it's probably fine, but every once in a while you end up having to buy that child back on the dark web. And those kids can get expensive enough just raising them normally without having to buy them back every couple of years. So why would you ever want to risk that? That's a lot of money. As a matter of fact, a lot of kids are left in situations like that where their parents can't afford to purchase them back, and they end up becoming wards of the state and costing us all a bunch of money. But that's what happens to you, folks.
No.
Every time you connect to an unencrypted network, you run the risk of having to buy your own children back from the dark web. And anytime you get on the internet in cafes, hotels, airports, whorehouses, the Bunny Ranch out in Nevada, basically any network that is not your own, your online data is not secured. So any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data. I'm talking about your passwords, financial details, your Swiss bank accounts.
Candid photography.
That's a big one they're wanting to try to steal. The names of all of your people on Adult Friend Finder, anything.
This again.
Well, ExpressVPN, those folks create a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet so that hackers cannot steal your data. Once they build this tunnel that's in between your device and the internet, they will take a gerbil or a small furry animal and run it through the tunnel to make sure there's no blockages. So you could have a gerbil running around back and forth in between your tunnel on the first day.
No, you won't. No, they don't. And of course, this is a virtual tunnel. But to tie it back to what you're saying, if you were on Adult Friend Finder and you had a lot of friends, maybe you can use this virtual tunnel to hide them as they sneak out.
Yes, because that's what your internet service provider does to you. We've been talking about this, and it's a growing problem. I'm reading about it everywhere. When they come to your house to work on your internet, 2 guys show up. When they leave, only one leaves because the other one is inside your walls. And your internet service provider is keeping an eye on what you do on your computer so that they can potentially sell that information to foreign governments or your own wife. So, if you go to ExpressVPN, like I said, they build that tunnel. They come in with all kinds of heavy equipment. It won't take long, 1 or 2 weeks at most. And there'll be a tunnel underneath your home all the way to your internet service provider. And inside that tunnel, they will put a guard dog to keep that guy that secreted himself inside your walls from coming out through the plugs and or the dryer vent in the middle of the night.
How would that happen?
What did you see that article on the news? Report on the news of the guy that was secreted in the wall and tried to come through the dryer vent in the middle of the night, and the dog actually got him and stopped him. Ate his nose off when he was stuck there, and he was stuck there. His head was sticking out. And the dog just came and started chewing on his nose. It was gruesome footage. But ExpressVPN will protect you from having your nose eaten by a dog. You won't even have to get inside the wall. They do it for you. And folks, if you're convinced that you need ExpressVPN worse than a sick man needs penicillin, and you should, because you do, all you got to do is go to ExpressVPN. Let me spell that for you. VPN. ExpressVPN.com/JCE. You fire up the app, you click one button, you're instantly protected. And there's no protection like ExpressVPN. I'm telling you, the chances of you impregnating anyone once you're protected by ExpressVPN are nil. And you'll get 3 extra months free when you /JCE. Go to expressvpn.com/JCE. 3 extra months free. Protect your devices, your laptops, your phones, your tablets, your plug-in vibrators, whatever you need to protect. ExpressVPN will keep an eye on it for you. So you can just put it down sometimes just on the sidewalk and walk off. ExpressVPN will be keeping an eye on it. You'll know where it is at all points. ExpressVPN. Well, heck fire, Brian, since you're not up on all the news, such as these people getting stuck in dryer vents while trying to climb into your home, what's going on with the wrestling news this week?
I'm up to date with everything happening in the world of wrestling because of the wrestling news. Of course, Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News Look for The Wrestling News wherever you find your favorite podcast, or go to thewrestlingnews.com. Free, daily, morning wrestling newscast covering everything that happened without any opinion, without any conjecture, just the actual wrestling news. Did you fall asleep in the middle of Raw? Find out what happened the next morning on The Wrestling News. Did someone break their nose doing something stupid? Find out the next morning on The Wrestling News. And this can repeat and repeat and repeat, and it does every day, 10 to 15 minutes. Find out what's happening in the world of wrestling without any spin. The Wrestling News at thewrestlingnews.com. And of course, The Wrestling News wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Jim, also want to make mention of Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon at suawpod.com. Available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. The most recent episode features an interview with Seth Turner from the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in upstate New York. Hear that today, suawpod.com. And of course, the 605 Superpodcast, the Mothership! Go through the archives today, and thank you to everyone who has been. Go through the archives today at 605pod.com. Available wherever you find your favorite podcasts, the 605 Super Podcast.